Every single day, trillions of dollars are zipping across the globe, and it all seems so simple, right? Like just the click of a button. But underneath that surface is a really complex and honestly pretty fragile system. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that unseen architecture of global trade and the hidden risks that are lurking there.
So let me just start by asking you a question. And if you're running a cross border business, this one's for you. Is your entire global trade operation built on a single point of failure? Think about that for a second.
Now, this might sound a little over the top, but here's a thought that might make you a bit uncomfortable. In today's economy, that standard corporate bank account you lean on for everything, it might not just be an asset. It could actually be one of your biggest liabilities, a weak link just waiting to snap.
Okay, so let's break that down. We're going to start with this idea right here, the single point of failure. And we're going to get into exactly why your trusty old bank account has become a serious vulnerability.
You know, the world out there is changing fast. You've got geopolitical tensions, sanctions that seem to shift overnight, and anti-money laundering rules that are getting tighter and tighter. For global business, this isn't just news chatter. It's creating what some are calling a freezing tide, a huge wave of unpredictable account holds that can bring your entire operation to a screeching halt.
So here's where it gets really interesting. When you use a standard bank, your money isn't traveling in its own private lane. No, it's all mixed together in these massive aggregated accounts with thousands of other transactions. And here's the crazy part. If just one of those transactions gets flagged, even if it has nothing to do with you, the entire channel can be frozen solid. It's this risk of contamination. And because banks have adopted this freeze first, ask questions later policy, you could be left high and dry for weeks, even when you've done absolutely nothing wrong. And that brings us to something absolutely crucial, the real cost of all these delays. It's not the wire fee. It's something way, way more expensive, what we call the hidden tax of waiting. 5 days. Just let that number sink in for a moment. That's the typical agonizing wait time for a cross-border payment that gets caught in a so-called routine review. For 5 days, your capital is just gone. It's in limbo. Your supply chain is stalled. Your business is basically on pause. So this hidden tax is really a triple threat. First, there's the time value loss. I mean, your money is just sitting there, earning nothing, totally exposed to currency swings. Then you've got compliance friction. Your whole team gets sucked into these random audits, which paralyzes your day-to-day operations. And finally, and this is the big one, is the massive opportunity cost. We're talking about the deals you lose, the penalties you have to pay, all because your cash was locked up. This isn't just annoying, it's real strategic damage to your business. This quote just nails the problem perfectly. We've got these incredibly efficient logistics now. Goods can cross the entire planet in record time, but the financial systems are stuck in the past. This creates the velocity gap, this completely absurd reality where your cargo can literally travel faster than the money to pay for it, and it is costing the global economy billions. All right, so what if you could close that gap? What's the solution? Well, this brings us to a concept called a bank pool. And it's so important to get this. We're not talking about just another bank account. This is a totally different way of thinking. It's a strategic infrastructure. So what on earth is a bank pool? Okay, imagine a private, hand-picked network of different banks, all strategically placed in key financial hubs. Think Hong Kong, the UAE, mainland China. The whole system is built for one reason and one reason only: to move your capital fast and reliably by creating a private highway that completely bypasses all that public traffic and congestion we were just talking about. The design here is all about resilience. The heart of it is the bank vault, basically a whole collection of pre-approved accounts that are ready to go at a moment's notice. And that's what eliminates the single point of failure. If there's a sudden policy change in one country, no problem. Another pre-planned pathway is just activated. The system also uses dynamic routing, which is a fancy way of saying it intelligently picks the fastest, healthiest route for your money in real time. But maybe the most powerful piece is proactive compliance. It actually matches your transaction to the right bank before you even hit send. Now, when you have that kind of proactive system, you get something we call the institutional advantage. It's like accessing the hidden menu at a bank, the stuff that most businesses have no idea even exists. Let's just compare for a second. On one side, you have the standard channels. That's the retail layer you see on a bank's website. It's slow, it's jammed with public traffic, it uses these clumsy generic filters. But on the other side, you have the internal-only channels. The best way to think of these is like the high-speed rail of finance. They're private, they're direct, they're incredibly fast, and they're reserved only for trusted partners.
So the big question is, how do you get access to that high-speed rail? Well, it all comes down to who you're talking to. If you're dealing with frontline staff, you're just getting a rigid, automated script. If their computer says no, it's a dead end. But a bank pool gives you director-level access. You're talking to real decision makers who understand the spirit of your business. They have the authority to look at a false positive flag and say, nope, I'm overriding that and put your money on those private, high-speed tracks.
Okay, so let's make this super concrete with a real-world story. Here's a case study of how this whole approach took what was a 72-hour business-ending crisis and turned it into a 2-hour solution. So here's the situation. An electronics exporter had a $200,000 payment completely stuck in a routine compliance review. Their whole supply chain was about to just stop. So instead of just waiting and hoping, they pivoted. The transaction was pulled out of the public channel and moved into a private Hong Kong mainland bank pool. Through that institutional access, a senior bank manager was able to step in and approve a direct internal ledger transfer. The result? That payment was settled in 2 hours. Not 3 days, 2 hours. They avoided a massive crisis. That right there is the power we're talking about.
You see, this isn't just about putting out fires or solving today's payment headache. This is about future-proofing your entire company. It's about building a legacy of genuine financial resilience.
Probably the best way to visualize it is like this. A well-built bank pool creates a compliance moat all the way around your business. It becomes this permanent defense that protects you from all the chaos and volatility of the financial world outside.
And the benefits go way beyond just getting a transaction through. You're actually building a real strategic asset. You get something called institutional vouching, which changes you from being just another risky applicant into a truly trusted partner. You're building an infrastructure that's going to be solid for decades, and that becomes your foundation for what we could call financial diplomacy. It's the key to expanding globally and raising capital securely. And what does all that give you? It gives you control, real authority over your own liquidity, untouchable by market shocks.
So let's end on this one thought. Payments, they aren't just a cost on a spreadsheet. How you structure them, the resilience you bake into your financial DNA, in a very real way, that becomes your legacy. Which really just leaves one final question for you to think about as you look at your own business. Is your financial infrastructure built for the world as it was, or is it truly ready for the future?